have you ever had an experience? Maybe you did a certain action, and from that, found an unexpected sense of fulfillment. For me, this sense of fulfillment started with a single animated film. 2 years ago, I watched an animated film with a bit of a strange name. I Want to Eat Your Pancreas. I really wish I made that name up, but I didn't, and it's possibly just the most unimaginable name of any movie you have ever heard. And its story is quite simple. A girl is battling a terminal disease known as pancreatic cancer, and is just trying her best to live her life to the fullest before she passes away in a few months' time. Now, if you're anything like me, when I watch films that I end up particularly resonating with, I find that I grow rather emotionally attached to those characters. And this one was no different. At the beginning, this girl was portrayed as someone who was full of optimism and life at seemingly every moment, to a point where I thought this was a little superficial. But as the frames continued rolling, and I started to learn the other side of this personality, the tension that comes with being able to just collapse at seemingly any moment would have been so mentally taxing that even at that moment, I could have imagined myself crumbling under the sheer hopelessness. But despite her dire circumstances, she still put a smile on her face. Slowly but surely, this optimism grew infectious. Slowly but surely, I also started personifying that hope. You know, in the end, maybe she will live. Yes, everything will be okay. So it really did feel like a stab in the chest when, at a certain key point in the film, I came to the realization: she is going to die. And whether it be in real life or a fictional story, it doesn't really change the gravity of that fact. So as the film runtime inevitably got towards that finish line, there was nothing I could really do but just sit and let it all happen. I knew she was going to die. Yet when she did, why did it still hurt so much? A couple of days have passed since then, and I begin to notice maybe this fictional character had influenced me far, far more than I would have ever imagined. While the story was definitely fictional, it felt real. And I begin to wonder, what if there was something I could do to remember this story? What if this could be my opportunity to take revenge on pancreatic cancer, the sole cause of my anxiety and tension that's been plaguing me for the past few days? What if I could do something to take that tension and remove it? Not just from me, but maybe from other people out there in the world who are suffering from a similar emotional damage. What if I could do something to help cure pancreatic cancer? And so that's what I decided to spend most of the following year dedicating my attention to. My journey to solving this problem started with learning about the pancreas. The pancreas is an organ located deep inside your abdomen, nearly in the exact middle of your body. Because of this positioning, it's surrounded by important structures and organs, such as your stomach and spine. This positioning is especially dangerous for patients suffering from pancreatic cancer, because the tumor can easily spread to other vital organs by a process called metastasis. Through my research, I looked into a treatment called radiotherapy, and how using powerful beams, radiation could slow down and kill cancer cells significantly. But there was a problem. How many of you have hit a bullseye on a dartboard before? It can be hard, right? But now imagine that dartboard moving around constantly and unpredictably. This is what treating pancreatic cancer is like. The tumor is hard to reach and moves due to anatomical changes like breathing. So as a result, doctors are forced to add an overlay around the pancreas, like a margin of sorts. And this always leads to collateral damage, as the radiation kills healthy tissue cells surrounding the organ. And because radiotherapy sessions can be quite long, and sometimes even have to be administered many times, eventually side effects develop, which can lead to death. I created PancVision, an artificial intelligence-based software which aims to improve this radiotherapeutic treatment. I trained PancVision on thousands of CT and MRI scans, which I just found off the internet, and told it exactly where the pancreas was. So that over time, PancVision learned to locate the exact location of the pancreas, so that radiation could be applied to that location, effectively hitting the bullseye every single time. And when connected to an MRI radiotherapy machine, PancVision would offer a high accuracy of over 99% in locating the pancreas and its tumors, saving billions of healthy cells, improving patient quality of life, and bringing the potential to save lives. And while PancVision isn't guaranteed to save the life of every patient suffering from this terrible disease, my hope now is that through further dedication, improvements, and testing, at least one life will be able to be saved. And this is sort of where I find myself now. But as I reflect on the experience and the journey that I've had so far, from tackling brain-boggling problems and topics with minimal knowledge, spending hours upon hours debugging, testing, and training on even the school computers, while at the same time fighting the insane lack of resources for what sometimes even seemed necessary to get that damn machine running in the first place, I realized something else. No matter how little I thought I knew about a certain subject, nor when the whole idea just seemed too dauntingly large for me to ever make a dent in, I never felt particularly satisfied, but fascinatingly rather the opposite. I experienced an unexpected sense of fulfillment. To me, this project didn't seem like some sort of work or school assignment with a deadline, nor a burden for me to bear, but rather an exciting opportunity for me to learn, explore, and challenge myself beyond what I thought I was initially capable of doing. And to do it with just a feeling of pure satisfaction at every step of progress that I made along the way. So, PancVision, it wasn't necessarily an idea built on saving lives in the start at all. But rather, it was just a means for me to gather all of the emotions I had felt when I first watched that animated film, and to transform it into something that I would never forget. So at the end of the day, I believe that this experience has taught me a valuable lesson and a different perspective in how I seek fulfillment in my life. And I'd like to share this perspective with all of you today. In reality, it's no more than just 2 simple steps. Step 1, just like how a single animated film fueled my desire and motivation to eradicate pancreatic cancer from the face of this earth, we all need to find and recognize the things that make us feel, well, things, no matter how big or small. Because all of us, over the course of our lives, will find countless things which we believe to be special or powerful. And this thing doesn't need to be big nor grand either. In fact, it can come from something as simple as just attending an event, experiencing a powerful phenomenon, or maybe just watching a great piece of media. In fact, I'd argue that the more humble your beginnings were, the better of a story it makes later on. But now, the second step, and the most important one. If you genuinely believe what you found in that first step and the emotions you felt were real, then I would urge you to consider your response and act it out. How would you let that moment impact you? What can you do to make that thing that you experienced all the more special and memorable? And I can't stress just how important taking that first step of action really is. Because if you don't, what meaningful impact have you really made on yourself? I found that through only putting in that initial effort was I eventually able to reap all of the satisfaction and fulfillment from the progress that I inevitably made. In fact, I believe that it's through these small journeys that we can embark on, where we can find the most fulfillment from our actions. Because in the end, fulfillment is not something that we can just sit around and wait for to happen to us. We have to be proactive and deliberate when searching it out. And I think it's because of this fact that makes this whole journey so much more worth embarking on and exciting. And while Pank Vision was my requiem to the animated film, I Want to Eat Your Pancreas, I believe that through the creativity and curiosity of all of our responses and actions, we can start making and challenging many of the world's other pressing problems. And to do it while leading lives full of self-discovery and change. So the next time you think you might be in the midst of something particularly special or powerful, I would urge you to consider your response, your action, and from that, your sense of fulfillment.